Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's stream, the first stream of 2021. Welcome to the new year everybody. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas and New Year's break, as much as was possible given the circumstances of the year, but I hope everybody's safe and well and had a good chance to rest and recover anyway over the break. So, we are back, and the first game that we're going to play on stream tonight is Wingspan. Now, Wingspan came out right at the end of the year. I think it was at the 27th of December on Nintendo Switch, and it is also available on PC. And I played it and got immediately hooked on it. I was always interested in Wingspan, but hadn't had a chance to play the physical edition of the board game. But once I got into the digital one, I haven't actually stopped playing it since. I think it's already in my top 5 Switch games of all time. I really haven't stopped playing it. I just kind of get stuck into it and keep going and going and going with it. It's just that good. So I have got a review on digitallydownloaded.net if you want to go and check that out. But otherwise, what we're going to do tonight is play a game of it against the AI. You can see here on the screen, I am playing as the duck character. And then there are 4 other characters which are going to be controlled by AI, and I've set them at medium level. I've been playing this game long enough now. I'm pretty much comfortable with challenging myself against the AI at this point. So, yes, we're going to play a game of that. I'm going to talk as we go along. I'm not going to explain how to play the game in minute detail because it can take a while to just kind of explain the basic mechanics of stuff. I'm going to talk about my thought processes as we go along, but I'm not going to explain how to play the game. But if you do have any questions, anybody who's on the stream live, if you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up as we go and I will answer them. Just before we start, I have had a request to drop the review in, so just give me a second and I'll drop the review link into the chat box. And then we'll get going. So here we go. Right, there we go. It's in the chat box. So, we'll get into it. And then, like I said, if you do have any questions as we play along, hit me up and I'll try to explain how to play as we go. So, the basic idea of Wingspan is to collect a bunch of birds across 3 different types of habitat. So, you've got the forest, you've got the grasslands, the plains, and then you've also got the water. So birds can belong, depending on the type of bird, it can go into one of those 3 habitats. And the goal is obviously to collect points and whatever as you go along by bringing these birds into the game and then using their special abilities to accumulate points as quickly as possible. Hello Britt, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully this is interesting and helps you. I know you're getting into Wingspan yourself, so hopefully you can get a sense, at least how I play. Now, I'm not going to claim that I'm a world champion or anything like that, but I'm pretty comfortable with how the game plays. So anyway, when you start to play, you've got a choice here of 5 different birds that you can choose. You can choose any of these. These become your starting hand of cards. And then you can also choose resources down here, up to a total of 5. So a combination of 5 birds and resources, however you want to split that up. And then at the top right of the screen, as you can see there are 4 little objectives. Now, after a number of turns, one of those objectives is activated from left through to right as you play along. And so the first objective we're aiming for is to have eggs in that kind of tree trunk symbol, which is a habitat that birds can live in. So, for example, the common merganser, I hope I pronounced that right. These are all North American birds. I'm not that familiar with a lot of them. So that bird exists in the tree there. So if I put eggs in that tree, and we'll get to the eggs soon enough, then that will count towards me winning that category. So what I'm going to do here is just look through. I am going to get that one actually. I'm also going to go with the snowy egret and the kildare, and I'm going to grab 2 resources, probably a worm and a fish. There we go. So that's the start, and then I also can choose one of these. These bonus cards are worth points at the end of the game as well. So you want to choose one right. Now, I've got a choice between trying to get as many birds out that eat fish. Now, if you remember, I already had, in this selection of 3 that I chose, 2 of which do eat fish, so that's probably the right card for me to go with, and I will. There we go. So that's my starting hand, and that gives me the basis for what I'm aiming for as I play along. Then the AI gets to take all of their turns. Because it is a higher level AI, they do take a little while to think through the possible moves that they can make. So you can see them up the top there with the little hourglass ticking along. Oh, awesome! I actually haven't got the expansions for the physical game yet. I'm really keen on getting the Australian expansion in particular, because one of the birds in that is a yellow-crested cockatoo, and I'm a big fan of the cockatoo, so I really want that card. So I've got to get the Australian edition especially, but just haven't got around to it yet. Alright, so now it is my first turn. What I can do in a turn is any one of these 3 actions, and we will get to those 3 actions. So each of these habitats has a different action attached to it. Forest gives you resources, the plains gives you eggs, and the wetlands gives you additional cards. And what the goal is the more birds that are in each of those kind of habitats, the better the benefit is back to you. So in a turn, I can choose to either activate one of those 3 habitats to get the benefit from it, or I can summon a bird into play, which is what I'm going to do in my first turn. I am going to summon the snowy egret. And because he's a water bird, he has to go into the wetlands habitat, which is what I'm on right now. When I do that, I have to choose the food. So as you can see on the top left of the card, there are little icons that represent various foods. In this case, either a fish or a worm, because of the slash. So I can bring the bird into play as long as I pay that cost. And you'll remember when I picked my 5 cards at the start, or my 3 cards at the start and 2 resources, I did pick a fish. So I can use that fish right now, or I can change it and use a worm. So I'm going to use a worm to summon the snowy egret into play. And just like that, I have the first bird in play. And as you can see on that bird, the snowy egret has a 4 next to a feather on the top left part of the card again. That represents how many points he's worth. So immediately I've got 4 points in play. So on my way, I'm off on my journey to collect the best bunch of birds there is. Alright, so as you can see, 7 turns left, and then it will be the first bonus round, as you can see on that kind of timeline that's on the middle of the screen there. Now for my next turn, what I'm going to do is... What am I going to do? That's a good question. Alright, so this turn I'm going to get a card. So I'm going to activate this effect right here. And by doing that, I can choose one of these 3 cards, or I can draw a card at random from the deck. Now, I want the Dark-Eyed Junco in particular, for reasons that will become clear enough soon enough. So I'm going to grab him, and that'll be my turn then. Now, some of the birds have little bonus effects when you've activated them. So when you decide to take an action in the water, as I have here, you can see there it says when activated, roll a dice not in the bird feeder. If any are fish, gain 1 fish and cachet it on the card. That basically means at the end of the game I'll get bonus points if this is a fish. It's not a fish, so unfortunately no bonus there. Each card has different effects depending on what the card is. So that's I guess understanding how those effects work and the effect that they have and the bonuses that they can give you has a big impact on the kind of the later part of the game and the advanced kind of scoring that you can get later on. What am I going to do? I get a free resource thanks to somebody else's turn. I'm going to... What do I want? Ideally right now I would like to have a worm. So let's see. Oops, no worm. That's alright. I'll just grab a wheat instead of seed. Now, in terms of the digital game versus the physical board game, the digital game obviously has animated cards. If you buy the physical board game, the cards don't move around like that. As you can see, my snowy egret is bopping around and doing his thing. There's also, in the digital version of the game, you get all of the various bird calls that they make. When you put a card out in play, it'll make its little chirp, and which is a nice little touch. Other than that, they are exactly the same. The board game and the digital game work exactly the same way. The digital game also has online multiplayer, which you can jump in, and online multiplayer is also cross-platform. So if you buy it on the Switch, you can play against people on the PC, and I have tested that out. It works very well. Hello, Pavage. Welcome to the stream. I must admit, this board game, because I actually learnt playing the digital version, and as pretty as it is, you are right, it is a little bit confusing at first, but this is a kind of game that you will get a hang of probably within 2 or 3 plays. It was okay by the time I had gone through 3 rounds, I was pretty much into it and comfortable with it. So it is one of those ones that you kind of learn best by playing as well. Once you get the rules themselves, there's a lot of them, but they're all quite logical and quite easy to understand. So if you are interested in this, there is a tutorial in the digital version as well, which gets you up and running. So I get another free resource. I'm going to this time grab me a berries. Yes, a berries, because I'm going to possibly need the berries later on in the game, more so than the mice. Because the birds that I probably want to summon towards the end of the game will be more inclined to eat berries than be meat eaters, I think, at this stage anyway. Okay, so regarding the physical edition, first round is 8 turns, but then you have to put a token on the bonus board, so next round you get... That is correct, yes, Britt. Each round has 1 fewer turns than the previous round. So by the last one, you are right, there are only 5. Okay, so I got my free little berries. As you can see now, I've got 3 resources, which is more than what I was expecting at this point in the game, actually. That's pretty useful. Unfortunately, I do need a worm, and I still haven't got a worm. Going to have to grab one from here. I'm going to use a turn for just a single resource, which is not what I like doing where possible, but I'm going to do it this time because I do need that worm. You'll see why I need the worm in a minute, because what I'm going to do is summon a bird, the junco, actually, to the forest section, because I really need a bird there sooner rather than later. Another free one. I got my worm here. I wasted a turn. Should have relied on the hummingbird from one of my opponents giving me. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I could always use resources. Okay. The one disappointing thing, and Britt on the chat mentioned it earlier, there are 2 expansions for the physical board game of Wingspan. There's like I mentioned really early on in the stream, pretty much all the birds in the base game come from North America, but there are 2 expansions. One gives you birds from Europe, and another expansion gives you birds from Oceania. So if you're a fan of birds from a different part of the world, then those expansions are pretty good. There is no expansions in the digital edition as yet. I'm hoping they come as DLC down the track. I'm really hoping, because, yeah, they actually add a lot to it, those expansions. Right. Let's bring the Junco out now. Cute little birdie he is. There we go. So he costs 1 worm plus 1 seed. You might remember from the first bird that I summoned that it was a one or the other resource. In this case it's one and. Birds can cost up to 3 separate resources to bring out into play, depending on how valuable really the bird is. But in this case it's going to cost me 2, and I'm going to spend that. And voila, I now have 2 birds into play. Now the good thing I really like about Wingspan is that there's no one way to play it. You have to be quite flexible to be good at Wingspan, where the cards that you get, the situation in terms of the bonus points from the top right corner, they change with each time that you play. So basically every time you have to be very flexible about how you go about achieving the objectives and collecting points up, which means you need to be able to use each bird that's in the box. Pretty much every single one of them has its value and its point. So, and there's 180, I think, birds in the base game alone. So there is an awful lot to get your head around, to wrap your head around. And there's a lot of different tactics, and every time you play, you'll be playing it in a different way, which I really like. I'm not such a fan of board games that kind of force you to play in one single way in order to be successful. But this one doesn't do that. Alright. So for my next turn, I'm going to bring eggs out. Now, eggs are important because from the second row in a habitat onwards, you actually need to start spending eggs in order to bring the bird into play. So that first one didn't cost me any eggs, but the second one, as you can see on the little icon just above the square on the board, there's an egg. So that's going to cost me 1 egg to bring the bird into play from this point. And I need those. So I'm going to put 1 egg there and 1 egg there. Eggs are also good because they give you bonus points at the end of the game if you've got leftovers. So there's no downside to collecting up a lot of eggs. The little dots at the bottom of each card show you how many eggs you can have on the bird. So this one, the Snowy Egret, can have 2 eggs, whereas the Junco can have 3. And it can range from 0 eggs to 5, depending on the bird. Okay. I got a free worm, thank you very much. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I've only got 3 turns left in this round, so I do need to keep aware of that. So 3, so that'd be 2 then. 1, 2. So I'm just doing some counting in my head, figuring out how I wanted to use the last couple of turns. 3. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to bring the kill deer out. He's going to cost me 1 worm. That's fine. Towards the end of the game, you actually have to really think about the order in which you're going to take turns, because it all matters. You need to make good use of each turn that you have access to, because they are a finite resource. And it's pretty clever. It's pretty clever the way that you have to plan things out. Alright, so I've got 2 turns left at this point. I get another free worm. Getting a lot of free resources in this game thanks to the AI. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you have to collect your own resources up. In this case, I'm not, which is nice. So I'm going to get my duck out. Summon the duck. There we go. And another free resource. It's just going on and on for me. Thank you very much. probably will grab a mouse this time. I just don't have any spare mice for the meat-eating birds. They'll come up soon enough. Hawks and owls and things, they eat meat. Come on, dude, take your turn. Right. And in my last turn, I'll bring out some more eggs, I think. And drop them all on there, because as you can see, the first round, which happens at the end of this turn, it gives people bonus points based on the number of eggs they have in the tree trunk home, which the duck has. So hopefully with 3 eggs there, I will I'll be competitive. That's my hope anyway. Oh, blue jay. I got those 2 bonus cards because of the Kill Deer's special effect. When activated, which I did by collecting the eggs together, I can discard 1 egg to draw 2 cards. So I got 2 free cards out of that. And they're pretty good ones too. Pretty damn good. And another free resource. Excellent. I was hoping I'd get another worm out of that. So I used the worm in the last turn to collect my bird. Here we go. So as you can see, because I did have the duck that I don't know what it was, magnesia or magnesia or whatever the duck thing that I have, because that duck had 3 eggs on it, I actually won that round. There we go. I got 4 points out of it. 4 bonus points for being top of that round. So now we're on to the second round of the 4 in this game, and this time around we're looking to have the that nest, the clutch of eggs nest, with eggs on it. So that's the Killdeer's nest, and I think I have one other that has that. Yes, so the Junco, they both have that, and I want to get as many birds that have that symbol for their nest into game and with eggs on them. That's my goal for the next 7 turns. What am I going to do? What I might do... Yeah, the UI is not perfect. There's no way they could have done a full tabletop view of the board with this. It's just it'd get very messy. So I think they've gone to make it look quite pretty instead. It's not too bad. I mean, at any time I can actually pull up my opponent's environments as well, and I can check them out, so I can see what my opponents are doing and what birds they've got out and so on. So you can click around and see all the details that you need to. It's just a little bit messy in terms of the number of button presses you need to make. But anyway, I don't tend to play this game with an eye on my opponents, because as you can see, it is kind of more an individual thing. I kind of focus on my own strategy and just let the chips lie in terms of what my opponents are doing. So it's not too much of an issue for me. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Okay, so that ability is really good, but it is better earlier on in the game, because eventually people stop bringing birds out into play. So I'm going to pull the Eastern Kingbird is coming into play first. I will spend 1 berries on that. And I need to use 1 egg to bring him into existence, and there he is. So every time one of my opponents brings a bird into the green forest territories, the habitat, I get a free worm out of supply. So that's neat. That's a very good ability if you can get that bird out early on. Not so useful towards the end, like I said. People stop bringing birds into play then. Alright. Now if I wanted to, I could also bring the blue jay into play right now. Or I could have a look at what birds are available in there. Yes, I'm going to do that. I'll bring some more cards out into play. The bush tit. Now, as you can see, the little star there instead of a regular habitat, that basically means that that bird can, or counts as every single habitat. So it is the tree, not habitat, sorry, nest. So it is the tree nest, it is the clutch of eggs nest, it is a, it's kind of a wild card. So it's a particularly useful one to have in play. I'm going to bring him, and then I do not care for either of those two, so I'm going to go for a random draw. And I got a purple martin. Okay, fine, whatever. Blue tit, yes. Bush tit, yes. No, you can only bring one bird out in a turn, unless there's a particular ability that lets you bring a second bird out. So some of these birds have a special ability that lets you play a second one in the same turn, but otherwise you can only actually bring one bird into play in a turn. There we go, a free worm. Alright, let's bring, that's the one I wanted, so I'm going to bring the bush tit into play. In you come. Now, because I don't have a grain to use at the moment, the bush tit costs a worm and a grain, but because I don't have the grain, I can trade 2 other resources in to get 1 back in return. So I can trade 2 worms in to get 1 grain, which is what I'm doing here. Costs me 3 worms in total, but it's probably worth it at this point in the game. There we go. And now I've run out of resources, really, to bring additional birds into play, unless I get lots from my opponents taking their turns, which is looking that way right now. I will grab a grain, because I'm going to need that for the blue jay. Okay, 4 turns left. Give me a worm. There we go. So you remember I brought the kingbird in at the start of this round. Like I said, when another player plays a bird into the forest territory, I gain a free worm. That's what's happened there. I've got a free worm out of that. So there we go. And I get another one because of one of the other AI opponents' abilities. So I get 2 worms for free, plus a grain from earlier in the round. That's pretty cool. Might as well do it. Let's get the blue jay out into play as well. And now I'm out of eggs again because I've been summoning a lot of birds into play. I've run out of eggs. I'm going to need to get a couple more eggs in play next. This is crazy how much how many free resources I'm actually getting out of this. Very rarely does it happen to this extent that you're just getting. Usually you have to go and collect your own resources and spend a turn doing so, but I'm just getting so much in from the opponents that I just don't need to worry about that, which is nice. And like, remember, as I said earlier in the stream, you have to be flexible with these things. So being able to account for that, or not getting many free resources, depending on what's happening in the rest of the game, you need to be able to adjust to that and come up with your own strategy for that, those conditions. Alright, so like I said, I need eggs right now, so I'm going to do that. And I need eggs on birds with that form of nest. So those two do, and also the bush tit can, because he has a star, so he counts as one of those nests. I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah. So just the 3. Get rid of him. And discard an egg. There we go. So I get 2 more birds out of that. Well, none of those are particularly good, are they? No, don't like any of those, so I'm just going to grab 2 at random. A raven and a crow. Well, there you go. The smart birds. I do like crows. I mean, one of the things that attracted me to this game in the first place is the fact that I do quite like birds. And, yeah. I particularly like crows and ravens and stuff, and magpies, because they are smart, intelligent, and elegant animals. That being said, I don't actually need 2 of them. I will, however, grab one of them, and it'll be that one, I think. Costs 2 resources and a worm, and a mouse. Meat-eating bird, that one. There we go. All those birds are evil. Yeah. I know. Ravens and crows and magpies and stuff. They can be very nasty. They do like to play around with humans, but that's just because they're so smart. There was this awesome video. Now we're going to digress a bit, but there was this really awesome video I saw of, it was a New Caledonian crow. Yeah, New Caledonian crow, and they gave it a pretty complex puzzle. I think it was like an 8 or 9 step puzzle to solve, and the reward was a treat. And the bird was actually able to solve an 8 or 9 step puzzle to get this treat out of the box. Pretty smart animals. And they also found that birds have a sense of play, which is a thing that humans generally attribute as intelligence. If the animal has a concept of play, then it's a smart animal. And also that they make tools, especially ravens and crows. They can make tools and then pass that knowledge on from generation to generation. And each generation actually improves those tools. So that's another sign that they're quite intelligent animals. I find all this very fascinating stuff. So there we go. Bird fan. Now it's the last turn, so 1 turn left. What I'm going to do is just collect resources again. Because... collect eggs again. Because it's better to start around with plenty of eggs and play anyway. So let's do that. Let's toss that around. So we'll put an egg there. And an egg there. And an egg there. And... there. We'll just spread it around a bit. I'll discard that one straight away. Yeah. To get 2 free resources, which I'll grab a worm and a fish. Tuck a card. Gives me a free one, and then discard 1 egg to get 2 more cards. There we go. Once again, not particularly interesting birds in the hand, so I'll just grab 2 at random. A gull and a warbler. Cool. Also not really what I wanted, but that's alright. Can't always get what you want. So at this point, once this turn is up, we'll be at the halfway point of the game. And I won that round again too. Like I said, I had to have eggs, birds with eggs in that particular type of nest. I had 3 birds with eggs in that type of nest, so I won that round. Good on me. And so this time we have 6 turns in the round. This time around we're looking for, again, eggs in that particular type of nest. That nest being the one that the raven there has. I've got also the bush tit can count as that nest, and also the egret. So I've got 3 birds at the moment that can have that kind of nest. I'm in a pretty good spot actually at this point in the game. I'm in a pretty good spot to score good points and achieve those objectives each round. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, simply because I guess the goal counts as 4 points, I guess. What's in there? Oh no. Alright. So, because I've got a card that gives me additional cards into my hand by drawing eggs, I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to collect 4 birds. And I'm going to load these ones up with the eggs, because that's the objective for this round. I'm going to discard 1 egg here to get 2 free resources thanks to the Raven special ability, which I will use to grab a seed and another worm. I need a lot of those. I can tuck one of these cards, get rid of that, that's fine. Free one. Discard an egg. And I get 2 cards. I really wanted the cuckoo. That's a really nice card for this situation in the game. So I'm going to grab the cuckoo and also a fish bird. A hooded merganser. I think it's a kind of duck, but I've never... I think it's a kind of duck. Same species as that one there. Anybody on the stream who happens to know what a merganser is, please let me know. It looks like a duck to me, so I'm going to assume it's a duck. But it eats fish, so I'm guessing it's probably a meat-eating duck. But you remember at the very start of the game I grabbed this thing that birds that eat fish I can get extra points for. Ideally I want to have 4 birds that eat fish at the end of the game. Ideally. It's kind of a secondary objective, but it's one worth keeping in mind. Now I want the cuckoo out. Yeah, cuckoo's a very good bird. Sure, why not? So he costs 3 food, but he's very much worth the price. Very much so. There we go. So basically his ability is whenever one of my opponents collects eggs, I get a free egg. Because that's what cuckoos do. They're nasty little birds, they are. In the reality, they're very cute, but they're not very... they're predatory in a way. So that's good for me, but yeah, good bird, that one. Oh, and straight away, because one of my opponents laid an egg or collected eggs, I get a free egg to drop on any bird that has that kind of nest. So I'll put him on the blue jay. Free egg. I'll take it. I might as well do this now. Okay, so let's do this, because there is one bird in that hand there that I want. That. Oops. I get free resources. I will take a fish and a seed. get rid of a card. I'm going to keep him. So the gull. Goodbye, chip thief. I don't know what the seagulls are like wherever you are living for people on the stream, but in Australia, seagulls are pains in the neck. They steal all your food. So goodbye, seagull. I wanted the grebe because, again, another fish eater. So not worth any points straight up, but yeah. And I'll go for a random card, see what I get. A goose. Canadian goose. I think a grebe's a kind of duck as well. Looks like it, doesn't it? Alright, so I've got 3 turns left in this round. The game's starting to accelerate now. With my 3 turns, I get another free egg thanks to the cuckoo. Thank you very much, buddy. Alright, so with my last 3 turns, I'm going to spend probably 2 of them at least. Yeah. 2 of them bringing these birds into play. Out you come, buddy. Yep. Good points there. So an individual, in terms of the actual points, once again the points are the top left of the card next to the feather. In terms of the number of points the birds are worth individually, it can be from 0 all the way up to 9. So a 5-point bird is actually pretty good. And then depending on what your strategy is, like I'm about to bring this 0-point grebe out into play anyway. But yeah, depending on your strategy, I take that back. There's a wood duck there. Oh no, he doesn't eat fish. Mind you, probably be worth grabbing him anyway for the points. Oh, actually, I'm going to grab eggs because I want that wood duck. That's my new goal. I'm going to get the wood duck. So I'll bring that out. And that and that and that. Alright. Discard an egg straight away to get to supply. Let's go with, what did the wood duck need? Doesn't really matter at this point, does it? Yep. Okay. Get rid of the Canadian goose. Playing this on the Switch, Brit. So it's available on PC and Switch only, I think, at this stage. It's pretty good on the Switch. You can play it on the go. It looks nice on the Switch's screen when you're playing it in handheld mode. Wood duck. Do you like my wood duck? And ooh, a pelican. Well, see, now the pelican makes a lot more sense to bring out into play because he's worth points. I'm really only bringing out birds into the water area because I want to get that 4 birds that eat fish. Oh, there's a swan there too. Just there in the hand there. Swan's worth 9 points. They're good points. But like I was saying, I just want to achieve that goal, which means I need to have 4 birds that eat fish in play. The only birds that eat fish are in the water area. The water habitat, I've got 3 birds there that eat fish. I need 1 more to achieve that objective. And at this point now, I don't see any point in bringing out that 0-point grebe. There's no point bringing out him when I can bring out the pelican instead. So I'm going to do that. Out comes the pelican. 2 fish. Get rid of those.
American white pelican. Pelicans work together to herd fish.
And that will be the last turn then for this round. See how I go with that. And once again I win. I had the most eggs in that particular type of nest. So 3 for 3 so far. The last turn, the last round is only 4 turns long. 5 turns long, sorry. And the goal is just to have birds in forest area. So there's the maximum number of birds you can have in any habitat is 5. I need to get 1 more bird out to maximize my chances of winning that round as well, which I will do in my first turn. Because the wood duck can actually be placed in green. So there we go. Actually, before I do that, if this... No, the trumpeter swan's not there anymore. I was going to go and grab the swan if I could, because 9-point bird's worth it, but... Let's just deal with the objective first. There we go. So I'll probably win this round too. It's not often that somebody gets all 5 birds into any habitat in a game. I will almost definitely have achieved that. And that gives me 4 turns left just to maximize the number of points that I've got. Now, the way I'll do that is... Well, it's a combination of things. I'll actually try and get a couple of birds. And then I'll just load up a lot of eggs. Because, like I said, each egg's actually worth 1 point at the end. And I've already got 12 eggs out in play. So I'm in a good position as far as that goes. To get a lot of bonus points. What I'll do then is lay eggs. And I'll drop them there and there. Discard an egg to get 2 from the supply. I'm going to go with a fish and berries. Get rid of the grebe. Ah, no point. And discard a card to get 2 free ones. I will grab... I mean, the heron's worth a good number of points, so... Yep. And then I'll just hopefully get a 9-pointer there. Not quite. Well, 4 points isn't too bad. So now I really have to think about what I'm going to do with my last 3 turns. I've only got 3 turns left to make the most of it, which would mean I could summon 3 birds, summon 2 birds and take an action. Have to see what we do. Thing is, I've just got so many resources that that's not a concern for me. I think... Yep, I'm going to go for something which is pretty rare in this game, actually, in Wingspan. I'm going to try to fill all 15 slots that are available to me. Most people, when they play Wingspan, don't get all 15 slots filled, but I do have an opportunity to do that with this game. So I'll show you how. In the first turn, I'm going to take this to grab my eggs, of which I'm going to drop them there. Doesn't matter really where. You can drop them anywhere. I discard that one to gain 2 from the supply, of which I will grab a berry and a grain. That's fine. I need to get rid of a card, so I'll do that. And if I discard 1 egg, I get to draw 2 cards. What I would do is grab him, and it doesn't actually matter what the other one is, but I'll grab one at random. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so I've got 2 turns left. In that first turn, I just used it to get some resources together and, most importantly, collect a second bird. A couple more bird cards. So in the next turn, I'm going to use one of the bird's special abilities that are on those cards there to bring 2 birds out in the one turn. So you'll see here, this bird here, the eastern bluebird. When I play the eastern bluebird, so when I bring it into the game, I can when I play the eastern bluebird, I can play a second bird in the same turn into the same habitat, so the plains. So I'll do that, like that. And I can play a second bird, which I'm going to do, the lazuli bunting, which was the bird I drew in the last hand. There we go. And once again, I do have to pay the full cost, but that's fine. I've got plenty of eggs to spare. So now I've got a full complement of birds in the plains habitat, meaning that in my last turn, I just need to bring 1 bird out into the water to fill it too. And like I said, that very rarely happens. I actually haven't played a game yet where somebody has filled all 15 slots that are available on the board. So that's an achievement. I managed to do that the first time I streamed this game. I feel pretty proud of myself, actually. That's pretty cool. I don't know if I'm actually going to win this. I should, because I've won all the rounds and I've got a lot of points blocked up. But yeah, those things. Scoring can go funny places in this game, depending on what other players have done. Because there's about 6 different ways you can score points in Wingspan. But I should be in a pretty good position. Get rid of 2 eggs. And there we go. 15. All 15 slots filled. Oh, and that one had the same ability. If I had space spare, I could have played another bird into the water, but I can't. And that'll be the last round. I should win that one because, like I said, I've got all 15. I've got all 5 in the forest area. Here we go. I tied with somebody. So when there's a tie, you split the points, but it was a tie for victory. So I did win all 4 rounds effectively, and I have a lot of points from birds. Now we go to the scoring. Let's see how it went. I should probably win the points for the number of birds. Just. I'm definitely going to win the end of round goals. Should win eggs, because I had so many collected. Well, there we go. As it turns out, I won that one fairly comfortably. I've played games in Wingspan where I thought I was doing pretty well, and right at the end, when the scoring's tallied, because one of my opponents had focused on a different kind of points, I'd only won by 1 point or had lost by 1 point. But anyway, that is Wingspan. I know that was probably not the step-by-step guide into how to play Wingspan if you've never played it before, but if you have played a bit of Wingspan, then that will hopefully make sense to you. But anyway, if you have any questions when you watch this back on playback later on, if you do, or pick it up later on after it's been archived, then just let me know in the comments and I will certainly answer them. But thanks everyone for tuning in. 106, yes. That is not quite my highest score in Wingspan. The best score I've done is 124, but 106 is pretty high. Basically, 100 is a very high score in Wingspan, so I've managed to do pretty well with that one. But yeah, like I said, that's it for this stream. That's a full game of Wingspan. I absolutely love this game. You can check out my review on digitallydownloaded.net for more reasons that I love this game so much. But it is definitely one that I'm not going to be... I'm not going to stop playing anytime into the future. Thanks everybody for being on the stream. Have a great week. We'll be back on Friday with a different game to stream. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks again.